Okay, so I previously did a video on on the E3 trailer for Uncharted 4, and I figured, well, why not do a handful of E3 related videos, kind of like how I did a series of videos which depicted my reactions to several of the Comic-Con panels from last year. Now, granted, I'd like to think I'm just a little bit more experienced this time around because, I'm more comfortable talking in front of a camera than I was. I'm not I'm not quite as pressed for words. Hopefully there won't be as many awkward pauses. And it's not the good kind of awkward pause like the Craig Ferguson awkward pause. I'm talking about the awkward pause where someone who is clearly uncomfortable being in front of a camera and just talking just pauses trying to figure out what to say. I'm going to try to avoid that. With that said, next panel or the next trailer I have taken a look at is the one for Alien Isolation. Now, the Alien license, it's a good license you have there. And for some reason, it's taken some pretty bad abuse in recent years. Not just in terms of movies, like Alien vs. Predator and later Prometheus, the disappointing Prometheus. Also, Aliens Colonial Marines, from what I heard, did not go over that well. I never actually got around to playing it, although that may have turned out to be a blessing considering what I heard. And considering the story that I am vaguely familiar with, despite the fact that it had both Lance Henriksen and Michael Biehn reprise their roles from the original James Cameron Aliens. Now, Alien Isolation, it's a new developer. It's not Gearbox. It's Creative Assembly. Now, Creative Assembly, they're mainly known for their Total War games. Rome Total War, Shogun, Empire, the list goes on. And it's not like this is their first game to where they've ventured outside of their comfort zone, because they've also done Spartan Total Warrior and Viking Battle for Asgard, both of which were action games that's, while not Game of the Year material, they still went over fairly well. So it's not entirely unheard of for them to do an action game, but this is a game that is claiming to be a survival horror game, Alien Isolation. Clearly, the title indicates two things. A, it's just going to be one alien, and they've confirmed that. It's just going to be one alien that you will basically have to be dodging and running away from the entire game. And also, this title, along with developer comments, indicates that it's going to definitely have more in common with the original Ridley Scott Alien than the James Cameron Aliens. So it's not going to be nearly as action-oriented. I mean, they've stated that guns will be very, very scarce. You're not going to use any kind of weapons against, or any kind of conventional weaponry against the alien that you face throughout the game. Instead, it's just going to be purely horror. Now, this sounds like a pretty good idea. It sounds very bold. It sounds very fresh, given the seemingly endless barrage of first-person shooters that we've gotten. So when I heard they were doing Aliens Colonial Marines, I said, okay, well that doesn't sound like a bad idea, but hasn't the first-person shooter market become a fairly saturated market in the world of gaming? But Alien Isolation, it is still a first-person game, but the fact that they're going back to the roots, as it were, the fact that they're going for a more survival horror approach, and not going for combat oriented gameplay, actually has me kind of excited. It has me fairly hopeful, because like I said, the Alien license is a good license, despite the fact that really the only two good movies are the first two, in my opinion. Just don't take my word for it until I actually review those movies. But yeah, Alien Isolation, it sounds like a good idea. It really does. And I'm all for trying to break the mold, and I'm all for trying to go back to the roots, because the story this time around is it sets 15 years after the events of Alien, the original Alien, where fans will remember that Ellen Ripley, Sigourney Weaver's character, was in stasis, was in this kind of cryo sleep. After vanquishing the xenomorph in the first movie, she went to sleep for 57 years, and she woke up again, 57 years later in Aliens. And this game is set 15 years after, so it's set in the period where Ripley is asleep. It follows her daughter, Amanda. Now, you may think, daughter? When did she mention a daughter? But in the extended cut of Aliens, she mentions having a daughter, and said daughter actually died before she was woken up. She wanted to go back to her daughter, and she couldn't because she was, asleep. She was completely missing in action for 57 years. So the game basically follows her daughter Amanda, investigating the disappearance of her mom. She was apparently transferred to a space station and assigned to find the flight recorder of the Nostromo, which is the ship that Ripley was one of the crew members on in the first movie. Why the Weyland-Yutani Corporation decided to wait 15 years to find the flight recorder for their lost ship, I don't know, especially considering the supposed importance of the covert mission to bring the alien back to the corporation. Hence, why Ian Holmes' android character was here, the synthetic character was there. But of course, in this story things go wrong. An alien has infested, and that's really all that we know about the story. So you play as Ripley's daughter. You finally get a Ripley back in the story. Now, whether the daughter will be just a Ripley clone or whether she will truly stand out as her own character, I don't know. But really, my biggest concern with this is that how will the replay value play into the story? Because apparently the alien that is in the game learns. It's this advanced artificial intelligence that apparently learns from every encounter with the player. Now, my concern is how is that going to play into the replay, into subsequent playthroughs? Is this just going to be a one and done deal? I mean, is a casual fan or a hardcore Alien fan going to pick this game up, play through it once, absorb the story, and then maybe play through it again if you're really obsessed about getting achievements or trophies, and then just put it down and never touch it again? I mean, what incentive is there going to be to play through it again? Is the alien going to react differently depending on how differently you play in another playthrough? Is it going to be more aggressive on a harder difficulty, or is it going to learn faster on a harder difficulty? I don't know. The trailer basically did its job in that it kept most of the game secret. It just showed little images. It really pushed the suspense that they're trying to go for. Really, it was only a few words: run, hide, survive. Um, and they kind of spliced that in with short little clips of your first person view running and hiding from the xenomorph. So I have hope for it. Like I said, Creative Assembly is a fairly seasoned developer. How they will do with a survival horror game, I don't know, because like I said, it's not like this is their first game. It's not like this is their first non-Total War game, but there's this is not exactly their field of expertise. When you think of the Creative Assembly, a lot of people do think RTS. I mean, survival horror, I can imagine this concept being done fairly well if you used the engine from The Last of Us, or if this was developed by Naughty Dog. Although Naughty Dog generally tends to stay away from pre-established licenses. They like to create their own stuff, which I can applaud. But you could also go to Rocksteady for this. But then again, I am willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. A lot of people gave Gearbox the benefit of the doubt, and they were subsequently let down with Aliens Colonial Marines. But this looks like it's trying something different. Like I said, it's going back to the roots, and we'll just see where it goes.